The other, influenced in the following story, is profoundly grateful for that influence. LSE, the initials, writes the following. Last August, while on a blind date, I met the man I wanted to marry. This happens sometimes, and it happened to me. He was everything I had ever thought of as desirable in a husband. 2 days after this enchanted evening, it was necessary for me to change my place of residence because of my work. And that same week, the mutual friend who had introduced me to this man moved away from the city. I realized that the man I had met probably did not know my address, and frankly, I was not sure he knew my name. After your last lecture, I spoke to you of this situation. Although I had plenty of other dates, I could not forget this one man. Your lecture was based on revising our day. And after speaking to you, I determined to revise my day every day. Before going to sleep that night, I felt I was in a different bed in my home as a married woman and not as a single working girl, sharing an apartment with 3 other girls. I twisted an imaginary wedding band on my imaginary left hand here, saying over and over to myself, this is wonderful. I really am Mrs. J.E. And I fell asleep in what was, a moment before, a waking dream. I repeated this imaginary scene for 1 month, night after night. Okay, 1 month. What is that? 4 1/3 weeks, technically on the calendar. 4 1/3 weeks, 1 month. She repeated this 4 weeks. How long would you repeat an imaginary scene to get your desire? Do you desire to be married? Do you desire to be out of debt? No debt? Own a house? Do you desire to be healthy? Skipping along on the sidewalk like you did when you were a kid? What is your desire? Are you willing to put in 4 weeks of falling asleep with the imagined scene on your mind as you drift into sleep? Are you willing to do that much work? That doesn't sound like a lot of work. I repeated this imaginary scene for 1 month, night after night. The first week in October, he found me. On our second date, I knew my dreams were rightly placed. Your teaching tells us to live in the end of our desire until that desire becomes fact. So although I did not know how he felt towards me, I continued night after night, living in the feeling of my dream realized. The results. In November, he proposed. In January, we announced our engagement, and the following May, we were married. The loveliest part of it all, however, is that I am happier than I've ever dreamed possible. And I know in my heart, he is too. Mrs. J.E. That is a wonderful, wonderful testimonial. Oh my gosh. Do not give up. Do not stop. Continue, persist, consistently, persistently. Keep at it. By using her imagination radically instead of conservatively, by building her world out of pure dreams of fancy, rather than using images supplied by memory, she brought about the fulfillment of her dream. Common sense would have used images supplied by her memory and thereby perpetuated the fact of lack in her life. That's common sense. We don't want to be involved in common sense. Common sense is out here in the world. Imagination created what she desired out of a dream of fancy. Everyone must live wholly on the level of imagination, and it must be consciously and deliberately undertaken. Lovers and madmen have such seething brains, such shaping fantasies that apprehend more than cool reason over comprehends. If our time in revision be well spent, we need not worry about results. Our fondest hopes will be realized. Art thou real, earth? am I? In whose dream do we exist? That is very, very true. Just sit with that for a minute. Art that real? Earth, am I? In whose dream do we exist? I ask you to ask that. In whose dream do we exist? I'll put it forth just for the fun of it. I and my Father are one. My Father is greater than I. We are the dreaming selves of the dreamer. The dreamer and the dream are one. The dreamer is greater than the dream. You're only in a dream. Why not imagine? If this is a dream anyway, a waking dream that you claim as your awake self, and then you talk about your dreaming self as if it's crazy, while you're there, you're pointing at this waking self as the dream. Where's the dream? Just because you think you're awake, it's not a dream? Oh, I'm here to tell you, it's definitely a dream. So go ahead and dream big, dream nobly, then imagine it as you're falling asleep back to your other dreaming self. I don't want to muddy the waters too greatly here, but the dreams are important. Dream big, imagine the dream as a real fact as you're falling asleep. Simple, simple, simple. In whose dream do we exist? There is no inevitable permanence in anything. Both past and present continue to exist only because they are sustained by imagining on some level or other. And a radical transformation of life is always possible by man revising the undesirable part of it. Beautiful. Soak that one in.